Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today. And every day that you watch my show, I'm going to turn down my little light here. It is a little on the crazy side. A little blinded. Hi. How's everybody doing in this crazy, crazy world that we're in right now with GameStop stocks being sold at fluctuating prices because of a Reddit, and then Wall Street stepping in and saying, "You guys can't cheat the system that we've been cheating for a million years." It's crazy. It is crazy out there. Let's see. Let's go. Let's do the week in Bryan. Let's see. First and foremost, got the car fixed. Got new engine in it. Works like a dream. Should be very expensive dream, but works like a dream. I don't know if you guys pay attention to my Facebook page. I literally the day after I got the car fixed, my phone took a rudimentary normal drop, the same drop it has taken 1,000 times while I was feeding the dogs. It fell off the kitchen counter and landed at that exact spot to break the screen, make it worthless. Oh yeah, so I had to put an insurance claim on my phone. Got the new phone today. Everything's working great. Updated it and all that. So again, comedy of errors. Sometimes you just gotta go, meh, all right then, fair enough. Let's see, haven't had a chance to play very many games. No, that's not true. I did play Monster Mayhem it's a D&D card game with my family. And it's super cute, super fast. Right now, I think with all the expansions, there are 12 characters you can play. Everybody has 10 hit points, and you're just basically trying to be last man standing. Some knockouts take, 10 minutes. Sometimes, me and my son were going head to head for 10 minutes alone, right there at the end, with both of us having like 3 hit points and just bouncing back and forth. So, I mean, I would say a 4-player game takes us all of a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. It's great. It really is. It's a really good game if you can get into it. The best expansion for it, in my opinion, is the actual Monster Mayhem, the big box expansion, because it comes with 6 creatures. It comes with six players, but it also comes with all of the room and dividers and things to hold all the rest of the cards. So if you have the other 6 player characters, it actually fits in the box, the last box that came out. It's pretty cool. I don't want to say it's real deep. It's not, but it's a lot of fun, and it doesn't seem like thus far we've probably played 4 or 5 times with the different characters. And it doesn't seem that any one particular character is overpowered or, every time this character hits the field, it's always the first to die or anything like that. So it's pretty well balanced. It's a good game. So we've played that. Played a little Xbox, but not a lot. And mostly just because I've been working a lot lately, things ramped up in a couple of directions, which we'll get to that in a second. I have a very fun story about this week. Which is actually going to lead into today's topic. Let's see what else. Last night in our D&D game, we actually lost a player character. Player character died, straight up died. Came down to the fact that he rolled a 1 on a death save, so it got him two failures, because if he would have just failed it instead of critically failed it, my character, who was a paladin, would have woken up 1 round. I was also dying. Would have woken up 1 round before he died, and I would have been able to, heal him back up to just so he's not stabilize him, so he wasn't going to be dying. So a combination of that and our ranger. She is not new to D&D, but she is new to Rangers. and just recently got spells and was not aware that she could heal him. So she was just like running around like a crazy person while he was dying. And then after he was dying, she was like, "So would have cure wounds helped?" And we were all like, "What? Oh my god, yes, it would have helped." But the gentleman who played the character is his name is Bryan as well. Bryan took it in stride. I think he's already cooking up a really cool character for his kind of replacement guy. He's also the kind of gamer that, unless we like all chose to like throw him at the monsters and be like, no, you get no healing ever, unless we like literally orchestrated his death, he's gonna take it in stride. He's never gonna, he's not gonna get ticked off about it. He's just a solid gamer. He's gonna be like, you know what, we got into a fight way over our head, and we really did. We really, really did. We were outside this. Our little group was outside this hut windmill thing, and I had sensed evil inside, and so we were gearing up to go deal with it. And they actually opened up the door and let out a bunch of these nasty little mini demons, which we killed, but it took a lot out of us. It took a lot of our healing, a lot of our hit points, and a lot of our like kind of mid-range spells to handle this little pack of mini demons. And before we probably should have said, you know what, if that was the opening salvo, maybe we should back off and regroup, or like go to the city and get help and come back or something. But myself and another character who's playing he's a berserker. Basically, we're like, no, we need to squash this evil now, and so we booted in the door, and it ended up being a couple of night hags, and we are only 3rd level collectively. So the first spell that one of the night hags threw put me into death saves, put Brian's character to death saves, and knocked one of our main characters down to like 10 hit points. So yeah, it was very much we should run, and we did. We everybody who was standing was like, disengage, run, and our DM was very. I think he was kind on us. I think he realized that would have been a TPK, a total party kill. If the two hags would have fought like, with some synergy, instead of just kind of randomly doing things, because we were, like I said, we were already kind of low on hit points and healing when we booted down that door, thinking that it was just going to be a couple of mages, a couple of like witches, not legitimately like night hags. And so we ended up running for our lives, as you do. And when we got to the nearest town, we sought out healers, thinking, maybe we might be able to, get him resurrected or maybe reincarnated. So I'm going to go on a little tangent here for a second. I love reincarnation spells. Like resurrections and raised deads, I'm not as keen on. Just bringing basically a video game save moment. Oh, bing, you're back. Bing, you're back. I'm not as cool with as it is a random gamble of, all right, you were a dwarven druid. Roll the dice and you see what happens. I'm also a huge fan of not using the table that's actually in the 5e handbook, but making one of your own that includes other sentient races that are player character races that you've got rules for. So that way there is a possibility that your dwarven druid might pop up as a goblin. Who comes up, he's like, crap, I'm a goblin. But, he's your friend. It's his soul in there, it's his spirit, it's his life force, and still keep him with druid levels and make him roll up stats or whatever. And I think that's a cool way of keeping a character going, but not necessarily without a cost. It's not, because that's my biggest complaint about some games, some televised games perhaps, that unless it has been decided ahead of time and scripted ahead of time, there is no real consequence. uh, Everyone's going to walk away from it. No one's going to really die, or they are going to die, but in the next session they're going to miraculously be brought back to life, or they were left at death's door and are missing an eye now because an eye patch is a cool affectation. I get it. I'm cool with that if the game supports it, but I think D&D is the kind of game that you want to have that actual challenge of someone dying in battle. They make the game difficult enough as it is to kill or to die because of death saves and healing word as a spell. Man, okay, as a player, I love the fact that healing word exists. A ranged heal that basically lets you stabilize somebody elsewhere in the battle just by whispering a couple of hit points into their ear. That's rad. As a DM, I hate it because it literally makes it almost impossible to really truly threaten somebody during death saves, unless you're going to be really mean and jerky about it. Because if you are going to be mean and jerky about it, then the bad guys are just going to stop and chop up the people who are dying, and that's going to make them die almost instantly. Again, I digress. It was a good session. So we packed up his body. My character carries around a lot because I'm a kaleidoscopic oath paladin, a paladin of chaos. I carry around a lot of weird things with me, a lot of spices and soap and just random stuff. And so we packed our friend's body up with some sweet spices and linen to take him the rest of the way to the guy's church. We get to the church and the guy's like, "Yeah, we don't have anybody who can we don't have anybody who can do that here. No one even remotely close to being able to raise the dead." So we said goodbye to poor Tolden the druid, and me and another guy had a pretty cool scene of talking back and forth about one of the other players, who was really taking it. He was really making it his own, like, personal grievance that he got his friend killed. He got Tolden killed, which was not truly the case. It definitely didn't help matters when he went running in and kicking the night hag, but it was definitely it was a group effort. They got him killed. But he, that particular character was really taking it on the chin as far as using, he's like just goes to the tavern and starts drinking away his sorrows, and it was very cool. It was a very neat scene. But then me and another one of the players went to the cemetery because it's the only hallowed ground in town, and buried our friend, even though we weren't sure whether or not a druid would want to be buried in town or cremated, or we had no idea what Tolden's what he would want. But it made for a pretty cool scene of me and this other character digging a grave, and over the course of a couple of hours talking about our responsibilities. What do we think? How are we going to handle this other guy when he's flying off the handle like this? What do we do? Do we try and rein him in? Do we just let him take his licks? What's going on? It was a good scene. It was a good session. Even though someone died, it was a good session. I just wish, I personally wish that there was a better way to, a better way to introduce a new character, because I know that our next session, we're gonna have to have a little bit of sort of a wink wink nudge nudge, hey, Brian's new character's here, because otherwise, especially in a land where nobody trusts each other and everybody's all like whispers, I can't see how we would normally just let someone come along for the ride. Yeah, join up, So there's gonna have to be a little bit of a little bit of a narrative ex machina that we go. All right, he's in. This is the guy that we need. But Nick is a really good DM, and he'll probably figure out how to make that work for us. So that's what I'm hoping. So I played that last week. Had my other D&D game with my dancing monk. Fun game. We had some conversation, and then we had just a grueling combat, or grueling. It's not even a section of combat. Or combat. It was just a section of dungeon that was. I mean, there was some grueling combat, but it was just a section of dungeon that was trap after trap after trap. It honestly reminded me of an old first edition AD&D. The Devil Swamps style, where it's just every 5 seconds something awful is happening to one of your characters, which has its place. There are moments when you want that, but after the session before, which was a combat where we almost died, and then now it was a combat that was pretty brutal, but then a bunch of traps that almost killed us, leading to a combat that we actually got through pretty easy, relatively easy anyway. And then I'm gonna sound ungrateful. We have been fighting above our weight class for the last 3 sessions, and this particular DM is refusing to let us level until after we solve this mini quest. And the problem is that I get the feeling that every time that we go to do this mini quest, we're getting into bigger and tougher encounters to finish this off. And at the end of this, because we're using milestone experience, so it's just basically when you get to a certain point, you hit that level ding. You don't actually keep track of the individual experience. And I think that what's going to end up happening is that we're going to eventually get through this island thing, and we will just barely get. He'll be like, all right, cool, now you can level, or now you're allowed to level. But then, because he has seen us overcome some of these challenges that are above our weight class, so there's no question that he will push that bar even higher for the next time around. And eventually what's going to happen is his reluctance to level us up is going to end up costing us characters, because he's going to have to keep, we're going to have to keep fighting as hard as we possibly can to survive, but he's going to keep pushing that bar up to make it tougher on us in between these far and few between levels. So I don't know. Again, maybe I'm being a complainer smurf about the fact that the next level is very big for my character, so it's as soon as we get there, I can start punching ghosts and stuff, whereas we've been fighting a lot of undead, and half my attacks do half damage. So it's if this was a normal guy, you'd have just taken 40, but you just took 12, or whatever. All right, enough about that. So that was a game we played. Then we played the game last night where Brian died. I played some card games. I have not played any miniature games in a while. Not even practice, other than some playtest pushing numbers around and things. I've been very, very busy with work stuff. We have got I've got a meeting tomorrow. Hang on, I'm dropping stuff. I've got a meeting tomorrow with my the fiction agent over at Catalyst to talk about the particulars of my next Shadowrun novel, because I have started to jot down the plot outline. I'm really excited about that. It's going to give me an opportunity to take a look at a part of the world that the Shadowrun books have barely glossed over. That they have have mentioned and like one board game talks about it in a little more detail, but it's a board game, so you don't get a whole lot of detail. You get a couple paragraphs. And additionally, I'm going to get to introduce some very cool settings, like backdrops and things from that corner of the world. I'm very excited. I think that's going to be a very cool. I think that's going to be a reason why some people dive into this book, or possibly get this book and then take it to like their gaming circles and say, "Hey, you guys need to read this. I want rules for this guy, or I want rules for these creatures." So that should be fun. I mean, I'm excited. That I'm really actually pretty excited about. Not to mention, without giving anything away, Catalyst has been very, very big with making sure that my books tie into tabletop products. So story-wise, that whatever is going on in the novel has something to do, even if it's like tangentially or adjacent to the plot of one of their products. It gives the people who are playing that product some more lore, or someone who is just really kind of excited about things that things that happen in the tabletop gaming world. This gives them more to read and more to learn about. So again, super psyched. I should be getting started on that really soon, since I've got the plot outline mostly done, and then kind of finish it with John. Let's see, what else. Stuff with Renegade is going great. We are steam shipping along on the Power Rangers game. It is shaping up. What we're doing at Renegade right now, because again, held by contract and marketing teams and things, I can't go into detail. But what we are doing and what we are creating, I think, when all is said and done, I really do think that it's going to be something that people are talking about. And not just fans of the licenses that are going along with this. I think that this is going to be something that people, that gamers look at in the future and go, cool. So I'm excited. I think that's going to be cool. So that's taking up a lot of my time right now. And then beyond that, this week we had so a lot of you, I know there's a bunch of you that watch this for Warzone content, which we apparently I left my phone on in the dingy ding mode. Let's make that not be a thing. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. New phone, forgot. So what happened this week was, so last week I mentioned in the Ups and Downs episode, I mentioned that it was a really cool up that I got to see the new secret private Facebook group for our Warzone game. And I got to see the new logo for the game, and I was super excited about it. Well, somebody out there, some rabid Warzone fan, figured out how to find that secret private Warzone group, and like went to it. They code leaked to it or whatever. And so I woke up on Monday, I think Monday or Tuesday, to messages on my Facebook group that were like, "Is that leak legit?" And I'm like, "What leak? What are you talking about?" And they're like, is this picture for real?" And it was the banner for, it was the Warzone logo for our game, which now has been officially let out of the bag. It is Warzone Eternal is the name of the game. Warzone Eternal. I see this picture and I'm like, oh man, I am in trouble. What happened? How did this happen? And they're like, oh, because someone watched your YouTube show and saw that, you mentioned that there was this thing, so they went and found it and posted it to everybody. And I was like, oh my god, I'm going to be in so much trouble. So I get a hold of Alex, the owner of Resnova, the person who's hiring me to do this game. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I did not realize this was going to happen when I said that I got to see the site. Oh no, oh no. And Alex apparently had tried to text me earlier the day that he had saw all this and was actually okay with it and was like, it's cool that the fans are so hyped up and that we're getting good press out of it. And for the vast majority of everybody, people are loving the logo and the name and well, because like I said, my phone had taken a fall and broke. So there was no way for me to get that text message. So I was freaking out. Why am I yawning? So I was freaking out that for nothing, basically. But Alex did say that he was going to, think about very soon opening up the group and showing people the kind of overall, the kind of, hey, this is what's going on. I think he's got some information that he wants to put out here pretty soon. And that website is obviously one of the places to do that in. But even before we said anything to anybody, there were something like 200 people already signed up for the Facebook group when it was a secret. Like they followed this secret link and went to it, and so it feels good. I know Alex is a little nervous because this is his company's first real big endeavor into a larger, a much larger scope of game and number of products, number of SKUs and things. And for him personally, it's a labor of love. Alex, he loved first edition and second edition Warzone. He thought it was amazing. It's one of the reasons why he played Dark Age. It's one of the reasons why he sought me out to bring Warzone Eternal to life. And so he's just very nervous that, again, the closer we get to actually being able to kickstart this thing and get the jump off and be like, hey, here's the game. Every time we get playtest reports back, there's a little nail biting. Did they find something that breaks the whole system? Is someone going to say, oh, I found this thing that needs to fundamentally change and now everything in the whole game needs to get redone? The closer we get to launch, the closer we get to the game being real, it's nerve-wracking, and in his case he said nauseating. But I do know that one of the things that he is planning on doing very soon is to kind of bring everybody up to speed. I don't know exactly what that means, but I have a feeling that it will be probably sharing some information, maybe share some pictures. And one of the things that I know that I want to do, and Alex is definitely behind me, is I want to take a little time, maybe soon, and some time to myself, and put together one of the things that I used to do back in the day. I'm gonna tangent for a second. One of the things I used to do back in the day, specifically for Dark Age, is every once in a while I would get just a bee in my bonnet and want to write a preview story. Like, here's a couple of pages worth of fiction that tells you kind of where my mind was at on designing stuff that day, or maybe teases a particular new release or something like that. I would do these teaser stories, and everybody always loved them. And I shouldn't say that. That's super, super non-humble of me. It wasn't that they loved them. They enjoyed the fact that I did those sorts of things, and that they would then look at that and go and try and decipher what I was trying to say, or what I was alluding to, or what I was teasing, or whatever. And sometimes it was just a big tease. Like, I was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna, show show a silhouette on the horizon of something that isn't coming for 6 months." But dun dun dun. So with Warzone, it'll be a little different because uh, we really aren't inventing new things. The Mutant Chronicles have been around a long time. Warzone's been around a long time. We are reinventing the game. We are redesigning the game and how they play, and we're definitely going to have new models and some things that are not, maybe not what you're used to seeing, because it's, a lot of people are used to looking at the Protoss models, which are a completely different aesthetic. But what it is going to do is, you know, you might get a good flavor feel, a good, maybe, honestly, what I may do is I might take a playtest game and try and, turn it into write down a bunch of the big stuff that happened, and then try and turn it into a story. Who knows? Whatever comes out, creatively, um, I want to give the Warzone fans something to chew on, something to enjoy. Um, and so I'm planning on here very shortly to start using that Warzone Eternal Facebook page to help prop up the game, help get the fans excited. If I get permission, maybe I can start sharing some design stuff that we're working on, or playtest information, maybe some quotes from playtest. Get people excited about, hey, these are the things that the people who are getting to play the game, what they're saying. Um, I think that it could be a very lucrative. And I don't mean that money wise. I mean like lucrative as in just general, like, a wealth of information. I think it could be a really cool site. Um, the one thing I am hoping, and you can roll your eyes at me if you like. I won't know. You can say things at me. I won't know unless you put it in the comments. Um, and I the one thing I do hope that the Warzone Eternal, God, my eyeballs just, the one thing that the Warzone Eternal webpage does not become is a depository for a bunch of pictures and stories and things from previous Warzones. Uh, I know that's a little jabby at me, but there are already other Facebook groups that are dedicated to all of Warzone, or specifically Warzone Resurrection, I think, with Protosses. There are always going to be places which they're, generic websites that are just like, hey, show us your models. Um, I really am hoping that our Facebook group will stay dedicated to Warzone Eternal and the Res Nova products that we create. Um, because uh, we really want this game to excel. We want it to succeed. We want it to um, grow in a way that behooves Res Nova to continue putting efforts towards it, to continue to pay me to design more stuff, um, because the goal is, of course, to eventually have a very large, scope of products that Res Nova can sell, and 5 years after the game comes out, uh, players are still, like, seeing it in stores, see people playing it, see pictures of finely painted miniatures online, and go, hey, what is that? Oh, that's the Nephirite vassal of Algaroth. Oh, well, that's a cool looking demon thing. And instead of the first words out of their mouth being, wow, I'll use that as a demon prince for 40k, which happens a lot, it's, what game is that for? Oh, what game are you guys playing? You guys are playing Warzone. What's that? And then, continue forward. Hopefully by that time we're playing games in stores again because of the virus. But, so, I guess, that's where that goes from there. Is The Warzone Eternal Facebook group should be a great place for players to get together, a great place to talk about the game, to talk about, you know, unit theory and stories, and one of the things that I love more than anything is when two players get together and talk philosophy about, you know, is Cybertronic really evil? You know, are they really just kind of making the best out of a bad situation? You know, what would win, two headhunters or 50 chihuahuas dipped in barbecue sauce? You know, like whatever you guys come up with. Those are the conversations that I love to eavesdrop on. Occasionally, I'll duck in and put my 2 cents in or whatever. But the goal, of course, is that the website becomes also a fantastic place to coordinate, organized play, convention games, to release, individual, hey, check out this scenario that we just built. I would like to, let's see how many people this weekend can give it a try and tell us how it is. As things move forward, I plan on using it to probably, again, if you are someone who's familiar with my work with Dark Age, several times a year I would put out goofy stat cards for, like, I made a Wasteland Santa and Mrs. Santa for people if they wanted to build models with legitimate rules, with flavor Christmas rules that allowed them to be fielded as mercenaries if someone really, really wanted to. I still don't know if anybody has, but it was just, these are things that I want players, I want the community to be happy, I want the players to be happy, and I want everybody to have everything that they need, everything that they want and more, in order to enjoy the game. That is first and foremost. I want people to enjoy their games and walk away from games smiling. So if I can give you a scenario and say, hey, for the next 2 weeks, people play this scenario and let's tell me how it went down, and I'll keep track of it, and maybe turn a piece of fiction into the story of the overall happenings. Which faction won the most? Well, maybe they'll star in my next fiction piece or something like that. I can't wait. I know it's still a ways off because we haven't even gotten the models yet, but I can't wait to see some of the paint jobs. Seeing some of the paint jobs that you guys put on other companies' models, I can't wait to see what you guys can do with ours. I look forward to it on multiple levels. So that is part of. Remember how I had said something had happened that kind of was going to lead into the topic today. So the topic today is the power of fiction, and right now I am really in the throes of that power. Not so much for the Power Rangers game, because Hasbro has a pretty tight grip on what we can and cannot create. But when it comes to like the Shadowrun novel, that is simply a work of fiction. That is a 70,000 plus words worth of this has not existed before. And what that really does, it gives me an opportunity to potentially create NPCs, create spells, create equipment, things that might not be in a book yet in the tabletop game. It gives me an opportunity to give those life and flesh them out, come up with particular situations that, like, someone could build their character off of in the future. They'd be like, well, remember that time when one of the wharf buildings blew up in Neo Tokyo? Well, my character was part of the security team that answered the explosion. Oh, cool. And so even though the story told us about the explosion and we know why, this character, he's gung ho, set on trying to find out what happened, because he had friends that got hurt during that, and or whatever. This is one of the reasons why I I love getting to design things at a narrative level. Um, that does not mean that I don't dig the hell out of what I'm doing with Warzone, because I can't redesign. If I tell you that I'm making a gray ghost, you know what that is. That gray ghost is a sniper. He or she has this weapon because in previous Warzone books it talked about their guns, and this is roughly their technique because there's a whole story already written about them. I can't dive in and be like, let's redesign the Gray Ghost, or rather, I shouldn't, unless I am trying to redevelop the wheel and decide that them just being a sniper is boring, so they also have all these other toys or whatever, or weapon or bullet shoots boomerang bullets or what. I'm kidding, obviously, but whereas I think the fiction for Warzone lets me reinforce kind of the cool things that these models are going to be doing, it does not let me change them fundamentally, or rather, I should not change them fundamentally as a decent writer working with someone else's IP. In the case of Shadowrun, a lot of that stuff's already laid out. I know what people are capable of. I know there it as a game there is a lot of open-endedness that game masters can allow people to do. There are a lot of things that monsters that may have been, or monsters or creatures or animals or parazoology or paracryptids or whatever, that may have been talked about or mentioned in passing, or it just makes sense that these would exist, but they've never been written down in a book. They've never been detailed, aside from maybe a sideways mention in one of the call out text boxes in a book. That's where, in my opinion, that's where the real power of these fiction products come from. Is it gives me a chance to set the table for you. Whether or not you sit down and to have a meal and take leftovers home and do what you will with it, that's on you. But it gives me an opportunity to go ahead and set that table and go, check out how awesome all this is. I hope you like it. I hope that you will enjoy it, and that it will it will go out and be part of your game at home, or even just part of your collective knowledge, so when something happens during your game you can go, oh, and by the way, these also exist if you want to think about it in the future. Or maybe it's something like this because this last book that I read let me know that this was a thing. That's the kind of responsibility, in my opinion. That's the kind of responsibility that an author has when you're dealing with another person's IP, and you are actually adding to it. Is you want to add, not alter, if that makes sense. It's better to make more cool stuff than it is to take someone else's existing cool stuff and just gut wrench it for no reason. Just to change it because, haha, I'm the one writing the story, so I can change it. Unless, of course, that serves a greater purpose, like part of the plot or something like that. But it is definitely one of the powers or one of the abilities that lore has. That lore collectively, lore, fiction, fluff, whatever you want to call it. What that can do is it does have the ability to change and alter the existing settings, the games. You could reveal a conspiracy in one of these novel pieces, so long as it is well known that these novels are established canon, or these stories are established canon. Then it's possible for you to literally upheave what people know and just toss what they know on their ear and go, okay, here's the real story because I've let you peek behind the curtain. And I think there are ways to do this that do not utterly gut the game and make everything you've ever known a lie. So all right, I'm about ready to. I always say stay positive, stay positive, stay positive, and try not to bash other people's work. There is a very old book, and so I'm going to be a little negative. There's a very old book for, God, second edition Vampire the Masquerade, called "The Dirty Little Secrets" or the Dirty Little Secrets of the Black Hand source book, and this book was, I'm going to try not to be hyperbolic because that doesn't help anybody. This book was basically cover to cover a source book about conspiracy theories within the hidden world of vampires that the vampires themselves don't even know about. And everything about them screamed power hungry player character. But basically everything in this book is stuff that no one ever needs to know. And by letting people know that it exists and stating, rather than, now I personally think it would have been cool if this book would have had a page in the very beginning of it that said all of this could or could not be fact. This is a collection of rumors and what we believe could be reality if you so choose to find it out in your world. Leave it up to the storyteller to figure out whether or not they want to add this stuff. Instead, it was a definitive source book that basically said, here are three or four new clans of vampires, basically groups of vampires, or rather translations of other vampires that don't play by the regular rules. They have their own spiffy powers because that's what people want. And no one has known they've existed for thousands of years until now suddenly this book comes out. And because gamers are gamers, now it's in everybody's plots. Everybody has a true Bruja on the corner. And the cult or the clan that was filled with horrible creatures before, well, we now know that those guys are actually just the bastardized versions. The real ones that are in this conspiracy club, they're actually okay guys, and those are the ones that you should that are the real ones. You're playing the version that is the monster. It was a bunch of ha gotcha stuff. Ha gotcha, and here's a new power that from that point forward, you almost, especially as a storyteller, if you're running a vampire game, you had to basically say straight up and tell your players that the Dirty Little Secrets of the Black Hand book is so secret, so behind the scenes, do not expect for me to act that it exists. And leave it at that. I just say because through the fiction in that book and the stories that it told, it reinvented so much and threw out so much. Basically saying you could have had a character you were playing for 10 years. And this book came out and said, those 10 years, that was a lie. You weren't really doing this. You were doing this for these guys. You just didn't know it. And now that you do know it, everything has changed. And your character, well, everything about your character doesn't really matter anymore because now you know that you're living a lie because you've read this book. And that's where I think that the line gets crossed, is when someone takes their fiction, their ability to create, and just goes, I don't have any care for the stuff that came before. I just want to leave my mark. Because that book definitely left a mark. For the next, 7 years of vampire games, you always had someone in the back of your head being like, I wonder if they're a True Hand member. Oh, that Bruja. I wonder if he's a true Bruja. And you knew that they weren't. You knew that they weren't. Or hopefully they weren't. If otherwise your storyteller is basically saying, hey, they've been secret for 10,000 years except for now. Like, so hopefully that was not the case. But yeah, like that. So that's why I feel that the responsible a responsible author, especially a responsible author that's working with a game license or a license of an established IP, it is your job to respect that which came before you, and figure out that kind of soft middle ground. Yeah, you can change a few things, but don't completely upheave everything. If this guy is a hero, and he's always been a hero, and he's always been the savior of the day, don't get in there and go, I'm kidding, he's actually a slapstick goofball who just doesn't care, because it's going to feel weird. And most importantly, from that point forward, there's a chance that other authors might take your cue and run with it. And so instead of it maintaining a powerful story or a good story arc or an element or a character, it is now these new authors have to, they look at the last thing sometimes and go, oh, that was revealed. It was revealed that this guy, is this Joker. All right, I guess that's where we go with it. And that's, in my opinion, that's a problem. So you have to have respect for the old stuff, but a hunger to create just enough of the new that what you definitely don't want is you don't want someone to sit down and read your story and go, I've read that 10 times before. It's the same thing. You didn't do anything new. Yeah, you may have introduced us to a couple new characters. They're neat, but anybody could have been in this book. Anybody could do these things, and it wouldn't have mattered. That's the difference. That's on the other end of the homage or the caring for the IP, is just basically running around in the same storylines and the same story arcs, going, this is what we got. You want to be able to push that envelope just a little bit and set it forward just a little bit and introduce enough stuff that when someone reads something new, they can go, "Oh, that's cool. I hadn't heard that before." Or I've never seen that before. Or, "Oh, that's a badass grenade. I wonder if we'll ever get those in the game." So that's what I've got to, as far as I'm concerned. That is where the true power of lore and fiction writing comes from, is the creation of new things within the existing narrative that does not disrupt the existing narrative. Because that's especially if it's an IP that is a gaming IP. Real quick, and I'm running shy on time, but I remember it. God, it's been a long time ago. I don't remember what the series was, but there was a comic that came out. God, was it Star Wars? Maybe it was Star Wars. I don't remember, but there was a comic that came out that basically invalidated a huge chunk of the gaming part of the license. That basically was like, in this little story moment, an entire, for like lack of a better term, like an entire class worth of D&D stuff was wiped off of the planet, or wiped off of the realm. So imagine this. So you're playing D&D, and Wizards of the Coast announced that they've got a brand new D&D novel coming out. It's the first one they've sold in blah 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 years, and it's going to be considered a canon novel for that world, for the Forgotten Realms. And you read this novel, and in the novel they decide to completely eradicate the one branch of wizard, like this particular school of wizardry. The spells are locked away. Like they take 10 years and like hunt every single one of them down. Like it's this giant thing. And now from here on out, that means that when you play Forgotten Realms, you are either playing post Wizard Purge or during Purge or whatever. And while that could be a cool moment, like a cool setting of, maybe during those 10 years, like trying to be a wizard on the run, that kind of thing, it is still setting a precedent and basically saying that from this point forward, no wizards unless you're, the special chosen one, which some people like playing those style of characters or whatever. But you see what I'm saying is that particular fiction blip, although a cool read and a neat thing, left this giant just gut in the system, in the actual role-playing game. Whereas, in my opinion, it would have been better to do it the other way around. Put out like a plot narrative, like a narrative source book or a giant module for the game, or a big hardcover book called like The Fall of Wizardry or something like that, where it's got a whole bunch of new rules for like wizard hunters and all this anti-magic equipment, and make a big setting statement out of it, so everybody knows that this game has altered to show this cool thing that's happened in this book. Oh, and by the way, if you want to catch it on a narrative sense, check out this novel, because it basically goes through and talks about why this is happening. That's what I'm talking about. Is that the fiction that we write and what we use to create, if it's attached to a game, you want the game to reflect it, but you almost want the game to reflect it first, and then you expand on it, rather than you do the giant shift and the giant change, and then go, oh, if you liked what you read here, please apply these changes to your game, if that makes any sense. All right, so I've jawed on enough. You guys understand what I'm talking about the power of fiction, and hopefully it also gets you going, and you'll stop by the Warzone Eternal website when it goes public, and take a look at eventually when I get a chance to put up some stories or something there. That should be a lot of fun. And stay tuned for more information on my stuff with Renegade, and the ongoing Shadowrun novels and things. There's a lot going on, but thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me talk about D&D and talk about the power of stories and stuff, because this is what I do. This is what I hope to always be doing, and those are the benefits of being a professional nerd. So you know how it is. Go out there, play, enjoy yourselves, stay safe, wear a mask. Let's get this virus done. But more than anything, if you get an opportunity, put a smile on someone else's face, but also make sure that you're smiling and having a good time, because you need to go out there and you know how it is. Play some games. See you next week.